Only two people here? Like, I can't even see who's in the chat. This is awesome.
Yeah, so we'd like to welcome everybody back to SEC Live here. We had started our live stream on time at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I thought it was rather strange that we only had a couple people online, and they apparently couldn't watch. They were just commenting in the comment section. Had David Waters of Gators Breakdown, and I believe that video processed and post. So we're good with that, that we have that content available for you. So you're going to see two editions of SEC Live. But the first one, David Waters from Gators Breakdown talking Florida, Arkansas. But then we heard about the big crash on YouTube. So we decided to shut down, but we are back. And I believe YouTube is back up and running. And we've got a few people, hopefully, coming onto the line. Somebody, at least one, has made a comment. And I was able to access a few live streams on YouTube. So that gave me the go ahead to at least give this a shot. LSU and Alabama won't be quite as fortunate coming up on Saturday. They were scheduled to play a 6 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, a special edition there on CBS at the conclusion of the Masters. But COVID has hit the LSU campus and many other campuses around the SEC, as we will have 4 cancellations or postponements, more accurately, of the 7 games in the SEC. Got Lon Phillips Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey to break down the Tigers. Lon, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing good, Mark. What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Would like to have a few people join us here at some point, but this will be recorded for people to watch later. But the YouTube mystery continues. But I was able to get on there and access whatever content I wanted, so I thought it was clear for us to give it the roll. So,
well, yeah, I'm down. Here's the thing. It's very. This is probably the darkest days in SEC history, Mark. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, LSU Alabama canceled. Just multiple games just canceled. Huge matchups. LSU Florida may take place in December. LSU Alabama may not even be played. This is crazy, man. And we knew it was possible entering a season that we could see, cancellations, postponements, date swaps, and we're seeing all the above.
We are, and of course, all it takes is one team, and it takes the quotas to be met to shut down the game. At least the SEC, and starting on September 26th, allowed itself some leeway to get these things done. We just had, as I just mentioned, David Waters from Gators Breakdown on, and we were talking about that in regards to some of the games have already been rescheduled for the weekend of December 12th. The SEC championship game is going to be played on the 19th. And now that we've had multiple teams affected multiple times, it looks like we've got a scenario, Lon. This will be rather intriguing, where in addition to the SEC championship game being played, a SEC schedule is going to be played that weekend.
Yeah, you probably see that. You'll probably see LSU Arkansas played on that date or whatever. They're going to swap. I heard that they're going to try and swap Alabama and LSU Arkansas dates. They're going to. Who knows what they're going to do? I've heard of a pecking order type of thing about conference. What means more to the conference? What plays more into the winner of the SEC title game? That type of thing. And if LSU, probably won't be in that SEC title game, so I guarantee you we'll probably be playing on December 19th against a team who probably won't be in the SEC title game as well, which could be Arkansas. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw LSU Arkansas December 19th. This is crazy. And, LSU has to take some blame here. They, ran a really good ship throughout the summer, had cutting edge COVID techniques, ways of tracking and all sorts of stuff. But those techniques were not emulated further after everyone found out that some of the players had a Halloween party after the 48-11 beatdown by Auburn. And that's where this all begins. Just boneheaded, dumb type of thinking there that has cost the team a huge game in the season that means a lot for recruiting, means a lot for the community. This was a home game. This meant a lot for small businesses here in Baton Rouge, and that's a lot of money that those small businesses aren't going to get. That's it's really disappointing from the LSU players. It really is. It shows where maybe the thinking is this season. That's just a symbol, perfect symbol of everything. Everything that LSU screwed up with on the field. That's been eye discipline. They haven't kept their eye on the ball, loss of focus, and you can see that off the field, contributing to even more with this Halloween party, costing us a game. This is unbelievable, and it's really sad. And at the same time, LSU's been really up against it. It's been a year where you've seen. We have 65 scholarship players available right now. 65 scholarship players available. That is almost unheard of for an SEC team to be trying to compete in an SEC conference schedule with only 65 scholarship players. That is, and that's through opt-outs, through transfers. And it's not just like, the coach said some type of public thing and there was this huge reaction, a huge scandal or some type of thing. This is purely like just pandemic personal preference. People saying, hey, I'm going to go back home. Justin Thomas, he went back home to UAB. Marcel Brooks, he went back home to Flower Mound, Texas. T.K. McClendon, he transferred back home to Georgia. Yeah, the list goes on and on. These players aren't leaving because they hate LSU or LSU personally wronged them. They're leaving to go back home because of this pandemic, and it's cost us Jamar Chase, Kerry Vincent, who was the best safety on the team with 4 interceptions, 13 pass deflections last year, a bunch of tackles. This guy was a strong tackling safety in space, which is one of the biggest things LSU screwed up on. Kerry Vincent was a huge loss. I was bemoaning his loss when he opted out, but it's understandable why he opted out. If you've seen his family history with his father, I have no beef with any of these players for making those personal decisions. It is what it is, though. LSU has been the unluckiest team in college football history because of these losses. Jamar Chase, you lose a guy who has 20 touchdowns. When you have somebody like Terrace Marshall, who's already got 9 on the other side, Eric Gilbert in the middle, just imagine what that aerial showmanship would have been all about this year, Mark. And it's sad. It's stuff we'll never see. We'll never see that offense. Miles Brennan with that horrible injury against Missouri, and just the deterioration of the injury as well, because it's an internal injury. It's very dangerous. You can't really play on that type of stuff. You really have to let it heal. It's LSU has had a lot of tough breaks this season. LSU could also be 4-1 if they could make a tackle on the field. LSU's also caused a lot of their own problems. LSU's also coached themselves into a cul-de-sac, Mark. LSU's also coached themselves off a cliff at times. Coach Orgeron, this is a season that will define his legacy because LSU's not going anywhere. If you look at our recruiting, we've got the 3rd-ranked class right now, Mark, and it's climbing. Our highest targets are still right there on the board. We got Tristan Lee, we got Savion Byrd, we got Brian Thomas, we got Mason Smith, Corey Foreman, the 2021 Bash brothers. All of those guys, especially in the trenches, when you got Mason, Corey, Tristan, and Savion, LSU isn't going anywhere. And there's going to be a lot of players returning from this year's team who also have a ring on their finger as well and played horribly this year. And they're going to be coming back with a lot to prove. And, maybe some of those players flame out and they are still horrible. That they proved to be what we didn't, not what we thought they would be. But then I think you'll see a vast majority of these players come good, especially someone like Jacoby Stevens. He'll be put in the right position. Playing alongside guys like Rayshawn Davis coming in. These freshmen are going to be electric. Garrett Nussmeier coming in at quarterback. whether he takes the starting job or not, his presence will push Miles Brennan to go above and beyond. It'll be interesting, but LSU's not going anywhere, Mark. This class is unbelievable, especially what we got at receiver. 3 top 15 guys, a 4th guy, Jack Besh, who's come in. He's only a 3-star, but he's on the verge of a 5-star, in my opinion. Guy's just jumping over people. Yeah, he's the most productive Louisiana wide receiver the last 2 years. He caught 20 touchdowns last year. I don't think he's a 3-star. Signing the top 2 safeties of the 2021 class, Sage Ryan and Derek Davis Jr. LSU's packing a punch, and there's going to be a lot of guys coming back next year with a lot to prove.
Got Lon Phillip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey. So check out his work and the crew over at LSUodyssey.com. The Bayou Bengals, of course, were supposed to play the Alabama Crimson Tide, most likely the best team in the country, certainly had raised their game to number 1 with the Clemson loss last weekend. And one of the storied rivalries in college football may not be played this year, most likely won't, but we will see how the SEC reworks the schedule with the dates of the 12th and the 19th of December being in play. But again, if Alabama makes its way to the SEC championship game, which seems inevitable, then LSU will be playing another game in that spot.
Well,
so Lon, in regards to what you've seen on the field this year, despite all the disappointment, can you weed through the disappointment and give us some bright spots for the future in regards to, again, some of the young talent that you've seen make some plays?
Oh, yeah. You can always count on me for some bright spots, Mark. You can always count on me to stick to the positive, because that's how I see the world. When you give, it gives back. And there's players from LSU, especially freshmen, who are giving a lot for the purple and gold, who are repping the purple and gold at its lowest. When everyone's kicking us while we're down, that will not be forgotten, and that will only help in excelling and exceeding these guys' limits to the maximum in the next few years. BJ Ogilari, 4 sacks already, 3 in 1 game. He's the highest rated freshman since he came in for a single snap against Mississippi State. Not that he came in for a single snap, but since he came in for his first snap against Mississippi State, and he only played a few snaps in that game, he's been the highest rated freshman in college football by Pro Football Focus College. Eli Ricks, 3 interceptions, unstoppable. 2 games where he allowed 0 yards, 0 completions, just completely shut down. Only 1 touchdown allowed on the season. Unbelievable performances. It just performances beyond his age, but I expected this of him. He had 3 interceptions in 1 game at Mater Day, where he took all 3 of them to the house. This is a guy who he thrives on showmanship. He thrives on the big stage. When the bright lights shine, he shines brightest. And pick 6 Ricks, I only see bigger and brighter things for this guy. He's excellent. I love this guy. He's a great cat. Comes from a great family. Eli Ricks, he's the complete package, and he's repping LSU hard. Also, we gotta stick into for Ty Davis Price. He had 135 yards, 21 or 22 carries against South Carolina. Was absolutely fantastic. Ran the ball well in the other 2 games against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, but he wasn't really trusted versus Auburn. He only had the ball 3 times, and I feel like he's an absolute beast between the tackles and outside the tackles, especially when you run him on the outside. Great pair of hands, catches a great ball. Was never used in either scenario against Auburn. It was a tragedy because on his birthday,
Oh boy, I believe we've got more transmission issues this time, not YouTube necessarily, or maybe it is, but it's probably Lon's feed, so we'll wait for him to rejoin us. This is SEC Live, an interesting night in the SEC. both what was projected on the field in regards to the schedule. 4 games canceled out of 7, only 3 games on the docket. We were talking up LSU and Alabama. They will not play, possibly for the first time since 1963, with Lon Philip Sullivan from LSU Odyssey. And then we hit the air at 8 o'clock Eastern time and quickly found out that nobody was watching us because YouTube was not available at that point. And so we shut that down. But if you want to check out the conversation we had with David Waters from Gators Breakdown, please check out our conversation. It was a good one on Florida and Arkansas. And we got Brent Beard on the line from First Coast News and College Sports Today to talk up, a minimal schedule as we've been outlining throughout the night. Brent, how you doing today?
Well, I'm doing okay, Mark. Good to be on with you. By the way, I know this is not SEC, but it's for everybody, but just saw where the recruiting dead period goes to April the 15th of next year. So you're talking about challenging as far as recruiting is concerned. So it will be what, Mark, a year probably since coaches and these recruits have seen each other. But again, we are glad for the games that we do have. Florida, Arkansas, and Kentucky and Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, South Carolina. Yes, it is a very slim schedule for this week, but at the same, and frankly, Mark, I don't like this any more than anybody else does. But I would frankly rather fight through this right now in mid-November than mid-December.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. And because the SEC did get on the field by September 26th, there is some room to make some adjustments both on December 12th and possibly, from what I'm hearing, the weekend of the SEC championship game. Yeah, that's something that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten has already built into the schedule because they had next to no room that they wanted to get the entire league involved on championship weekend, which I thought was kind of an interesting scheduling quirk or approach to try to get as many games in, and also having the wild card scenario of nobody knowing who was going to play that final weekend because it was going to come down to the seedings in the league. Right. For the SEC in particular, it's going to be more of just trying to make up as many games as possible.
Mark, I like that, frankly, that these teams have a final opportunity to play, and hopefully they'll be able to have enough players who want to play on that final weekend too. But, I mean, it certainly is television inventory, and they have got a bunch of inventory that they've got to deal with and that they've got to fill. So hopefully on that weekend it will be. And you know, the amazing thing is there's so many things. I mean, you end the season December the 5th, and you end the season December the 19th, the regular season the 5th, or some of the other teams basically will be finishing their regular season on the 19th, along with the SEC championship game. So, and I guess, Mark, at this point, it was probably advantageous for the league, whether they were thinking this way or not, that they've got the game on at prime time at 8 o'clock for the SEC championship game, and you can play these other games before then.
So, Brent, it's funny that you bring that up because I did not know that the time had been altered, because my thought was, well, the SEC championship game is typically played at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it would be quite interesting if there were so many other games that needed to be played that some of them would be played after the SEC championship game. But I guess that won't happen.
No, no, that's good. And look, again, I don't know how intentional it was in case something like that would happen, but look, we needed to have something work out well, Mark, and that did.
Yeah, to this point, I'm not going to try to come up with some scenario in which it's going to go south on us. Pardon the pun in terms of talking SEC.
Yeah.
All right. But before we carve up again, much less than a full slate, 3/7 of a slate, we'll look back here and pinpoint this Florida-Georgia game that's monumental on so many fronts. Georgia had bullied Florida the last 2 years. That seemed to be the difference. There was a decided talent gap. I'm not going to call it significant, but it was decided. And Georgia was the stronger team in the trenches, and that seemed to be the deciding factor in the fourth quarter. And the question going into this was, did that still exist to the point that it would result in a Georgia win, or all the skill and playmaking ability and this air raid style of offense? I'm not going to call it that. I know that's not the deal there. I'm stealing that from other offenses, but that type of approach was going to spin this thing in Florida's favor. And Brent, we certainly got our answer.
Yeah, we really did. And again, that game's played in Jacksonville, where we are down here. And look, to me, it's a highlight of the year. Frankly, Mark, it's a game that we love to have. It's just a real shame that we didn't have a full stadium. We weren't able to have RV City and just the little things around the game that we do every year that have been very traditional. But the game itself started out, looked like Georgia was going to run away from it. But Florida, unlike previous years, dug in, were able to tie the game, and just went on this absolute blitzkrieg that they had. I'm sure David Waters talked a good bit about this, so I won't belabor the point too much. But what Kyle Trask has done, first SEC quarterback to throw 4 touchdown passes in 5 straight games. I mean, he's almost like Mac Jones right now. Every time he has a game, he does something historical. I don't mean he just has a good game. He does something to break records. So that really is amazing. And I mean, they look very Alabama-like, frankly, didn't they, Mark, for that period of time where they really were just overwhelmed Georgia. And look, Georgia's still got, next to Alabama, the best roster in the league, I believe. But I think the injuries really took its toll as the game went on. They had more injuries at that point. But they struggle so much right now at quarterback that they've really got to do something in their game next week, Mark. They've got to look at JT Daniels, and they've got to look at Carson Beck, who obviously, ironically enough, is from Mandarin High School here in Jacksonville too. So now George Pinkins will be back, so that's going to help them, whoever the quarterback's going to be. But Georgia reminds me a lot of Tennessee at this point. That they need to spend the rest of their season trying to hone in on a quarterback. And there are no perfect scenarios. You're going to have to throw a guy out there if he's ready or not to be able to give him some experience. And that's going to be important. And I think these fan bases will feel a lot better that if they go to the end of the year and they've got some notion of who the quarterback is going to be for next year, that I think that would be your balm in Gilead a little bit for these teams if that happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's that alarming to anyone when there are 2 quarterbacks competing and the slightly lesser talented player wins the job, because the quarterback has so many other responsibilities in regards to leadership, getting everyone on board, making the right decisions, understanding and grasping the offense, and so forth. But when you've got 4 quarterbacks in the room and you had a 5th in Jamie Newman, and the guy that emerges as the starter is the least talented of the bunch, then there's some concern there. DeJuan Mathis got his shot, and he didn't necessarily show us anything either.
Well, he did not, and Mathis now has struggled throughout the year. And again, I give Stetson Bennett credit. I think Stetson, for his limitations, did about as well as he could do at this point. Also, now I'll say this, and we've gone over this situation here. There can be no real gloating for Florida on down the line, because, Mark, as you saw in that game, there were 3 times in the fourth quarter that Georgia have wide open receivers, and the quarterback either overthrew them or just simply couldn't get them the ball, or they would make the pass and they'd fumble before they made the completion. So it's not all wine and roses for the Gators yet. They've still got some defensive situations to straighten out, but it really is a struggle for Georgia right now at quarterback, and that is something that Kirby Smart is going to get fixed, and Todd Monken too. And look, I get the fact that everybody thinks they should have kept Justin Fields. Sure, they should have, but the reality is they didn't have a crystal ball at that point. Fields was basically unknown. Jake Fromm was lighting the world on fire, and he was molten lava hot right then. And pretty much all these people who've been criticizing Kirby would have said the same thing and probably done the same thing at this point. But still, that doesn't remove the problem that they've got to get that quarterback situation fixed sooner than later.
Got Brent Baird on the line. You can catch him on First Coast News, also College Sports Today. We bring him in and we throw anything related to the SEC at him, and we expect him to be able to field it, and he does flawlessly each and every time. He's never let us down. As we look around the league, certainly not that Auburn won the game, but in the fashion in which they whipped up on LSU as a game that was basically a pick 'em, certainly surprised me because I thought that LSU at least righted some of its ills the week before against South Carolina and showed that they were going to give it a pretty good effort the rest of the year.
I thought early in that game, LSU was in it, and they made some mistakes that the Auburn defense took advantage of on the interception, the pick six, and the scoop and score, and by the way they were playing offense at that point with Finley. He really he did the best he could. He wasn't ready for that moment. Frankly, it looks like now Miles Brennan is out for the rest of the year, or at least they're going to protect him and keep him out. But I think the thing with Auburn that you're seeing is defensively, they're getting healthier. Big Cat is coming back, and I think he's going to be healthy. KJ Britt, by the way, by the time they play Alabama, is going to be back, so that will help them. I think Bo Nix is playing within himself a lot more and not trying to come up with sandlot plays at times in order to get the job done. He's staying a little bit more in the pocket. And look, it never hurts to hand the ball off to Tank Bigsby or get the ball off to Seth Williams at that point either, does it, Mark? So by doing so, that helped. They've got, and with the games coming up, and the thing that Auburn's got to be careful about is, frankly, is a fact of where they have a letdown to play down the level of their competition before they get to Alabama and A&M.
There it is, folks. 7 games scheduled. We're only going to see 3. Hopefully, most of those will be made up a little bit later as the SEC plays a bit of jigsaw puzzle with the schedule in the month of December, culminating with an SEC championship game on the 19th and maybe a few undercards, we will call them, before the championship game, which I think is quite fascinating.
Yes.
And whatever football we can get based on what we've endured and what we've seen. And we knew, Brent, we could almost have predicted that there would be a weekend like this,
sure,
where several schools would get hit hard and there would have to be numerous cancellations or postponements, as we've seen. Brent, we appreciate you stopping by, as always.
My pleasure. And I'll say this going out. The thing we need to do, Mark, is celebrate every game that we're able to play this year instead of griping and complaining about the ones that we don't. Hopefully we can get those rescheduled at some point, but we thought this would happen. The SEC's had a plan. They're carrying that out, and we look forward to it continuing. And always great to be with you, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. For those people that gripe and complain about missing football games, I either figure that their life must be that good that that's all they've got to gripe and complain about, or maybe they just gripe and complain about everything.
Yeah.
So there it is. We will have 3 SEC football games, and certainly that Arkansas-Florida game will be a big one for the Gators to continue their march to Atlanta. Brent, we appreciate it. You take care, sir.
Look forward to it, Mark. Take care. You too.
Thank you. All right, we continue to march on here. We've got Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football to break down his beloved Wildcats, who were off last week after a loss to Georgia, loss to Missouri, and need to right the ship here to have a winning record, meaning 4 straight if they're hopefully able to play them all. They've got Vandy coming to town coming up this weekend. Kevin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Mark? Always great to be on and talking SEC football with you. An albeit abbreviated week. I was joking with someone earlier that at the rate we're going this week, Kentucky and Vandy might end up being the CBS game, the 3:30 game on Saturday, because there's not going to be anybody else to play. But as you know, as he said right before me, he said, "Yeah, you guys were talking. We knew at some point a weekend like this was going to happen, and it just happens to be right now. It just happens to be this weekend." And honestly, Kentucky's had some problems, a little bit of COVID problem, not necessarily with the players, but Coach Stoops mentioned on Monday that he was down three of his assistants on offensive assistant. Of course, John Schlarman, who it's a whole nother thing. You know, you may not know the story. He's battling cancer. He's been away from the team since before the Missouri game. And then he said he was down 2 other assistants earlier this week. Now, we think one of them was Eddie Gran, because he mentioned that he thought Gran, who's Kentucky's offensive coordinator, would be available for Saturday. Now, we don't know who the third one is. But anyway, just throwing that out there. But there's, you know, as we're talking at 9:18 on Wednesday night, the game is scheduled to go on, and as you said, Kentucky really needs a win, and it's, you know, in theory, it's a game they should win.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has no question been the worst team in the league. There's no question about that. Arkansas is elevated, and even some other teams struggling has left Vandy now at 0-6, and I thought that this would be the plight for either Vandy or Arkansas entering the season once you lost all those non-conference games that are typically wins for those teams and added 2 more SEC games, that it could get pretty ugly when it comes to a record, and Vandy is playing right into that right now at 0-6. They did have a major advantage on the stat sheet against Mississippi State last week. They totaled 30 first downs to 14. They had almost 500 yards of total offense to like 250, something in that range, 2-1 or more than 2-1 advantage. But Mississippi State made the key plays to win it. 21-14, something in that range. It was a touchdown game, 20-14, I believe. So now Kentucky 24-17. There we go.
Yeah, 24-17. Yeah. So like I said, go ahead.
No, just setting you up for anything else that you had with Kentucky.
What I was going to say was the thing about that was kind of the Vanderbilt game was kind of reminiscent of some of the early Kentucky games this year, where basically Kentucky won a lot of the stats but lost the turnover battle. I think Vandy had five turnovers, and that led to their eventual downfall. I think they got behind like 21-0 or something before they rallied. And then, you know, with Kentucky is with the same way, you know, Kentucky is, you know, plus 12 or has 12 turnovers now, like one of the best turnover margins in the SEC, which after the first 2 games, they were one of the worst. And Vandy is near the bottom. I was finishing up my my preview of the game for Last Word on College Football, and that was one of the big things, you know, the battle of turnovers, because Kentucky's has done great with the turnover battles. Now they just have to figure out, you know, what to do with it when they get the turnovers, because that's been their biggest problem now, is putting points on the board. And Swampy McGee, I would say yes, but I would say yes, he is on the hot seat, but we'll find out. We'll probably find that out in December. But for Kentucky, they've had a bye week, and hopefully the coaches say they've had a couple weeks to try to work on some of their offensive issues, because it's been pretty, let's face it, it's been pretty brutal. I think the stat is there's only in this 2020 college football where we have everybody, you know, playing the Big 12 style football, we're scoring 40, 50 points. You know, Kentucky's the only team in the SEC who's gone under 200 yards in total offense twice. this year and been under 300 yards in four of the 6 games. The only ones where where they got over that mark was 300 yards was Tennessee, and then the game against Ole Miss.
Okay, Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football. We enjoy our conversation with Kevin throughout the college football season and the off season. You can catch his work again on Last Word on College Football. Kevin loves his cats, but they've got all of.
I got to say one thing. In case somebody, I have a red shirt on, but it's Cincinnati Reds for Trevor Bauer winning the Cy Young tonight. So,
did he win the Cy Young Award?
Yeah. And then the pitcher, I think, from Cleveland. Actually. Yeah, the pitcher from Cleveland won the American League. So I think they said it's the 3rd time in history that former teammates had won the Cy. Anyway, so in case anybody says anything, I'm wearing red. It's Cincinnati Reds. It's nothing. It's not Louisville. It's not,
Okay. Not Georgia, not Louisville. Okay.
It's just one of those things that jumped out at me. Sorry.
To clear that up, definitely make sure of that. Trevor Bauer, one of those stat geeks that really just, there it is. If you like baseball and you want to learn pitching, boy, my goodness, Trevor Bauer's got it down to a science. It's fascinating to listen to him dissect the pitching metrics and his own approach to the science of pitching. But we're talking Kentucky football. We're talking SEC. It's our SEC live show. We had quite the stir on YouTube earlier tonight, maybe just like an hour ago, Kevin. I don't know if you're aware of this, but YouTube was down for probably an hour, something in that range.
Yeah, I saw some posts about it. Was it all of YouTube, or was it just like YouTube TV, or was it the whole thing in general, or?
So we were on here live with our Florida State show, and when we got off the air at maybe a few minutes after 7, we had 165 people online. And then I jumped in the shower, came back down, got prepared, jumped on here, expected a decent crowd. And as we were talking to David Waters, 5-10 minutes into the show, I'm seeing 1, 2 listed online. And I thought, man, that's very odd. And then I checked because I've made a mistake before that we weren't going live. And then people were able to comment in the live chat to tell me that YouTube was down. And so I checked it out on my phone, and lo and behold, I couldn't pull up any videos, but people were apparently still able to jump on and comment without being able to watch live streams or videos. And then we shut down the feed after the one conversation with David because nobody could watch us live anyway. And then
he's a showstopper anyway, so
yeah, he's the showstopper. So you might as well shut it down once David clears the floor and give everyone.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Does a really, really good job covering Florida. I've been on with him usually the last 2 or 3 years whenever Kentucky and Florida meet. So now just having a little fun this evening on a Wednesday night.
Well, so, all you guys certainly deliver for me. So, whether it's you, whether it's David, a number of people that, I don't know how, I couldn't even take a guess at how long you've been coming on here, Kevin, but it's been several years for sure.
Yeah, it's been at least 4 years. I want to say like 2016, 2017, because I've been at Last Word, I think, for almost 5 years now, which I didn't even realize until LinkedIn of all things popped up and said, you're celebrating your whatever 5-year anniversary. I was like, wow, has it been that long? That's crazy. But as far as Kentucky, as far as Saturday, like I said, this is one of those games in theory where you should, hopefully, if you're a Kentucky fan, get in, get some reps for some guys, get a lead, and then get maybe one of these games where you can try to get some of the younger guys in. And Coach Stoops even alluded to that earlier this week, that, we're still, Terry Wilson didn't play against Georgia. Joey Gatewood got the start, did some decent, didn't do bad. I mean, Kentucky only lost 14-3, but the defense, Kentucky's defense has been there. It's just a matter of the offense. And so there's kind of some doubt, or, still trying to decide, do you go with Gatewood, and kind of build towards the future, or do you, stick with Terry, the guy that's won you 14, 15 games in the SEC, think about that. He's won 14, 15 games, playing at Kentucky, playing an SEC schedule, led him to the Citrus Bowl. And then, they have a third guy, Bo Allen, who's a true freshman out of Lexington Catholic, who's another guy who, they said has been looking great in practice. So in a perfect world, Kentucky would get like a 2-3 touchdown lead. And then that second half, you can play some of these younger guys and see what they can do, because there's really not, after this, you got at Alabama and at Florida. So, it's really time to put on the big boy pants and basically, more than likely the two teams that's going to be playing for the SEC championship, cross your fingers, on we think December 19th. And then we'll go from there. And it just depends on, obviously, to use a phrase that everybody uses, COVID pretty much decides we don't decide the schedule and how things work. COVID kind of decides things these days. But from my standpoint, I'm predicting somewhere around, I'm going to say 24-10 win for Kentucky. Basically not very exciting, but just enough to get the job done. And as I said, I've been working on my preview for the game. So Kentucky, I think, opened as a 17-point favorite, which is, kind of crazy in the SEC. I think the last time Kentucky was that big of a favorite, they also played Vandy, and it was 2 years ago, and they only won 14-7 in a game that was played in a huge windstorm and all of that. So, Kentucky historically doesn't do well as a big favorite. So, a lot of times you take the under as opposed to the over on the point spread.
Although for Vandy, up until last week against Mississippi State, and I thought that would be their best shot to win a game. Again, they really, unlike Vandy, what we typically see out of them, were able to statistically dominate the game and lost it by a touchdown still. And I'll take a stab at Derek Mason and Swampy McGee's comment here. And Swampy, by the way, Kevin, does an exceptional job of following up on his statements with this type of information. He'll give you the full biographical, coaching record, the whole deal. He will go right to the source and pull it up for us. So we've got 27-52, and this is a 7th season for Derek Mason. 10-43 in the SEC. I was trying to do the math on that. So they played 6 games this year. And that's an uneven number of games, so I don't know how that would be 53 games. But anyway, I'm sure it's in very close to the exact total, 10-43, and 2 bowl losses. They lost to Baylor 2 years ago in a bowl game where they played well, and they got annihilated by somebody. I think it was NC State several years ago. But my thought is that Vandy is a difficult one for me to judge, Kevin. If you would say, is this person succeeding at Florida? Well, I know what the bar is. Are they succeeding at Kentucky or South Carolina? Well, I know the bar is somewhere different. But at Vandy, my goodness, if I'm at Vandy, I'm thinking I want to hire a coach and I want to be competitive in the SEC. And I would like to maybe go to a bowl game 3 or 4 times out of 5 years. I'd like to win 6 or 7 games. And then I know that I'm going to down cycle to a 3-9, but I don't want to do that too often. I would think Derek Mason would be on the hot seat. He hasn't really, I think the year-to-year records have been pretty abysmal, and they're not improving.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And honestly, I think you can almost make a comparison to where Kentucky was a few years ago. At the end of the, after Rich Brooks retired in 2009, Joker Phillips came in, and then, they started off, went to a bowl game that first year, then they went way down, 2-10. Stoops' first year was 2-10, and now he's built that back up to where they've gone, 4 straight winning seasons. For a Kentucky fan, basically, if you went 6, baseball school, if you went 6-6 and went to, say like the Independence Bowl, I mean, you were having a great season. And, now the expectations here at Kentucky has raised a little bit to where, you're thinking right now 7 to 8 wins should be the minimum every season. Now, obviously this season it's not going to work out that way, which I know goes against your preseason picks. And I hate that, Kentucky hasn't come through for you like we all hoped, but now, I mean, but then again, you think about the facilities at Vandy, and you want to say that, even the academics and everything at Vandy, it's probably a little harder being a successful coach at Vandy. Now, James Franklin did it back, a decade or so ago. They had some really, really good teams there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's just tough to win in general at Vanderbilt. And like I said, for any Vandy fans out there, that's just my opinion. So.
So, Kevin, I'm going to go back to something that you alluded to just a few minutes ago in regards to Terry Wilson's record as a starting quarterback and some of the fan base wanting to see other quarterbacks get the opportunity. I just sifted through the 2021 commits as they stand right now. Are there any hotshot quarterback possibilities for Kentucky that you're aware of?
The only quarterback that I can think of off the top of my head is a kid named Kaya Sharon, who's actually from Somerset. He's a local kid. He plays for Somerset. Actually, his dad and I played high school football many years ago, back in the late 1980s. Yeah, he, off the top of my head, he's the only one that I can think of. I don't have the list in front of me, but I mean, they think they're pretty well set with Gatewood, and then they think Bo Allen is going to be the quarterback of the future. And then, you have Gatewood for a couple years, and then Allen, and then Sharon might be that guy after that. Now there may be somebody I'm missing, but he's the only one that I can think of as quarterback in this 2021 class. So, but anyway, he's a guy. He's the one guy, except from Somerset, and Kentucky is really. The state of football, another thing that's helped Coach Stoops is that the state of high school football in Kentucky, the type of player has gotten a whole lot better over the last few years. And Kentucky, Vince Marrow especially, has done a great job of keeping those great in-state players going to Kentucky. Because, before you would see, go back to, Sean Alexander going to Alabama, Frank Jacobs going way back, Notre Dame, places, people like that, they all went out of state. And now for the most part, they're all staying in state and staying here in Kentucky. And like I said, the quality here in Kentucky, as far as high school football, has gone way up. And that's been, as you and I have talked many times, Ohio, and now they've really broken into Michigan, that's and then Georgia and Florida, that's kind of Kentucky's big recruiting bases. But like I said, they've done a really good job of, keeping the in-state guys here. But like I said, Sharon might be a guy 3 or 4 years, down the road you may be hearing about. But right now, like I said, next year it'll be Gatewood, I think, and Gatewood, and then Bo Allen after that. So, and you can't, you can't argue with that statement. So they've done very well. Kentucky's basketball record speaks for itself.
So Kaya Sharon, I caught up with his numbers. 33rd rated pro style quarterback according to the 247 Sports Composite. 8th rated player in the state, committed to Kentucky back in March. All right, Kevin McGuffey, last word on college football, breaking down the Cats for us as they prepare for Vandy, trying to break a small losing streak of a couple games and up that record to 3-4 against the Commodores. Kevin, we appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the game. Hope there is a game, and hopefully that we keep this 3-game SEC schedule, at least to those 3 games, intact for this Saturday.
Yeah, definitely so. Because I said, I don't know what, Kentucky has December 12th open, but I don't know, we don't know what we're going to do with the rest of the games. I heard, crazy rumors that they were going to cancel the UK Alabama game next week and then try to make up one of the like LSU game or something. I don't know. I don't even know how that would even work. But that was just one of the crazy. You can't believe everything you read on the internet. That was one of the things that was going around today. That they might try to do something like that. But we'll see. But you talk about quarterbacks real quick. Mac Jones, quarterback at Alabama, back 2015, 2016, committed to Kentucky originally, and was a UK commit for almost a year. And then he, I think in the next summer, he said he decommitted, and then like within a week had signed with Alabama. And at the time, everybody here was like, "Why would you go?" Because they had Tua, they had Jalen Hurts. It's like he's just going to go, hold the clipboard. And then, and then you see, these guys, Hurts goes to Oklahoma, Tua gets injured. And now you see what Mac Jones, Mac Jones has done. And, I think he's probably either first or second right now in the Heisman race, with Lawrence and Justin Fields. And like I said, it's one thing Kentucky's done a really good job of. One more is that they found guys that have gotten in on guys early, kind of before they blow up and become bigger names. And for the most part, they've done a really good job of holding on to them. But just, talking about quarterbacks, Mac Jones, you wonder what he would be doing, say, running the Kentucky offense here. Would he be throwing, 400 yards, 400 yards a game? So anyway, that's another one of those what if things, but so we'll go from there.
I'm going to take my stab at Mac Jones not quite posting the numbers at Kentucky with a receiver core that he would work with as opposed to Alabama. But I would also say that Kentucky's passing numbers, I think, would be taking a pretty good leap forward, because for as good as those receivers are and the protection he receives, he is really good. And he can deliver the ball, and he is super, super accurate and really doing a nice job with that Alabama offense. So that was one that got away for Kentucky, and their search for a quarterback continues, and we'll see if it's Bo Allen or Joey Gatewood here in 2021. All right, Kevin. We again encourage everyone to stop on over to college. Last word on college football, and Kevin, we always enjoy the discussion.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on again. As always, I really appreciate it. Like I said, head over to Last Word. We got a lot of good stuff there. I've got I'm doing a bowl projections thing I started doing last year and having a lot of fun with it. So I currently have Kentucky in the Music City Bowl playing Iowa, which would be kind of a fun game because that would be that's Mark Stoops' alma mater. So things like that, and like I said, a lot of good, a lot of good stuff. Tony Syracuse, Jason Ray, all those guys do people that are always on with you, do a really, really great job. I'm just, proud to be a little small part of that website. It's that they really do crank out some really good content. So I invite everybody to go check it out.
Absolutely. All right, Kevin, enjoy the game.
All righty. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Kevin McGuffey, last word on college football. May be our last guest of the night. We are awaiting one other, and he may have gotten tied up. I want to remind everyone that this is MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. This is our SEC live show that we present every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. If you would like to see what you've missed, that's a discussion on LSU football. That's Brent Beard from First Coast News talking the entire landscape of the SEC. And then, of course, Kevin McGuffey, who just joined us. Wait for the video to post. Also realized that because YouTube was down for about an hour, we've got two separate segments to present, as we were on with David Waters off the top of the show from Gators Breakdown. And then we had the big snafu with YouTube. So we had to come back with our second presentation tonight of SEC Live. Join me on Patreon. We have a great time over there. We've had watch parties. We had one last Friday night. Exclusive live streams per your request. We also have an insider look at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, and all that is my background and the vision and the buildup of our platforms. And also, hey, by the way, 16-4 against the spread. 16-4 against the spread last weekend would make anybody a whole bankroll of money. So keep that in mind. 16-4 against the spread. Just jump on over to Patreon, search Mark Rogers TV. It's $5 a month. That's 15 cents a day, and you will be glad that you did. And you can join our Voice of College Football community and get yourself a nice little plaque too, a nice little recognition statement there on Patreon. As you can see on the crawl below, we are also inviting you to do your shopping on Amazon using our link. It's the same exact shopping experience. There's nothing different to it. You're going to jump on there on that particular link and you're going to see a different product, but it's the same exact shopping experience at Amazon. So please use the link. It doesn't cost you an extra penny, and you help us build the channel. Also want to let all of you know that as I hear from all of you on a regular basis, or many of you, I should say, that want team-specific live streams to be added to Florida State, Ohio State, Miami, and Nebraska, keep in mind that if you can get us a sponsor, we will do your show. So I had a viewer contact me a few weeks ago and say, Mark, I want you to do a Nebraska show. And I said, if you can get me a sponsor, I would love to do a Nebraska show. And within 2 or 3 days, I had a sponsor and we got our show put together. And we're going on week 3 of Nebraska Cornhuskers Live. That will be tomorrow night, Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern time. So the point of that story was to let you know that if you would like a team-specific live stream, then just get out there and find a sponsor for us, or just give me some contacts of some folks that I could talk to secure a sponsorship, and we will get that on the air for you. Would love to do live streams constantly. I love the team-specific live streams because we build a camaraderie with a number of the people that love and have passion for and insight and perspective on that particular team, as we did tonight with Florida State Live, and have a big time. All right. I will be back live tomorrow over on the Miami channel at 4 o'clock Eastern time with Miami Live, featuring the Wholesome One. We also have our Nebraska show here at 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Central, tomorrow night right here on the main channel. 3 SEC games this weekend. Hopefully, we will stay with 3 and get those played and finish out the season and see a championship in Atlanta on December 19th. Keep it locked in here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and we will have all sorts of news for you concerning our platform and exciting news concerning our content delivery to you right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you got anything else for me in the live chat, I will take a look. There you go, Eli. Find a sponsor for Liberty. We will do a Liberty Flames live show every week. Wouldn't that be something? Money making is going to have to be the objective. If any of you know what my story is, that after 19 years with ESPN as a production operations manager, I called it quits about a month ago. And this is full-time, full throttle, all the time, working constantly, building this vision. I love it. And this is what we're going for. And we need your help. So yes, we are building revenue streams. Everything needs to be attached to revenue to make it happen, to feed people, and to keep the lights on. So that's what we need to be focused on right there. So, and I can be the moneymaker when it comes to that. Yes. Head on over to Patreon. And I don't even sell that as the reason why people should go to Patreon. We just have a great time with our watch parties and with our exclusive live stream. So the deal with the exclusive live stream is that per request, we do one exclusive live stream per week where we will talk directly with anybody who wants to come on. We've done this about 15 times where you guys come on and talk to me. And what's been great about that is that I basically kick back, and what becomes the conversation is all of you talking college football to each other, just similar to the chats that you see with my regular guests. Put yourself in that spot. You come on, you talk to me. And again, we usually get 6 or 8 people on at the same time to talk college football, and it's a whole lot of fun. So you got your exclusive live streams, watch parties. You get the insider look at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And you get your betting advice from Steve Merrill from Pro Sports Info and your lock of the week. And then also, yes, my predictions as well. And dare I say, once again, 16-4 against the spread last weekend. All right, everyone. It was great to see you. And again, Miami channel tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time for Miami Hurricanes Live. And then tomorrow at 6 Eastern time right here for Nebraska Live. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. See you next time. Swampy, I will have to look that up in regards to my season record against the spread. My goal is to hit on 60% against the spread because you need about 52.5% to make money. So anything over 52.5 to 53% against the spread, you're golden. But my goal is to hit 60% against the spread, and I usually don't quite make it, but I'm well above that 52.5% threshold. So I'm usually in that 58% range, but 60% is the goal, and 80% on the money line on the straight picks. That's the goal there. I'm having a rough season on the money line. I'm only around 70-some percent straight up, but I pick all the top 25 games, and I commit what people tell me is prediction and betting insanity or suicide is that I predict all the top 25 games. So I don't just pick and choose, hey, these are my 4 picks of the week. I pick all the games, all the top 25 games, plus any games that I find relevant outside the top 25. All of them. All right, hockey. Great to see you as well. We will see all of you tomorrow. Be looking out for all sorts of video posts previewing the weekend's games. And if you have yet to subscribe, please do. That way you can hit the bell for the notifications to know when we're going live.